All right, back out here on the Monte Carlo. Just want to show you a little bit about what I do here to get this trim to fit right, where it looks good around the windows. Basically, you want to keep a spare set of some scratched up, dented up old trim on hand. And luckily, this trim applies to 68 to 72 on the front, any midsize car. So you just want to keep putting this trim up here, and you can kind of see what you want. You don't want a perfect where there's no space in between. You want just enough, like right here, where when the trim goes on, it won't hit the body. So like right there, I've got a little bit. Probably need to take a little bit of that out, or like that metal. See, there's metal right here too. So I need to grind that away or knock that back. That way this trim will lay down and it won't be dragging on something when you go to put it back. So that's just a little bit about what I do. Hadn't really got much other done since the last, this is the start of the second video collage on this car. So it's really cold today. I got the heater on and off periodically, but it's still, this time of year, it just don't want to dry the body filler. So I've got filler drying here and a few other spots, trying to get the car ready for, got all the sandblasting done. I'll show you that. Fender, inside of that fender, radiator support and all the little stuff. So, okay, so this will be, keep following along. Okay, so we've done a little more work here. Let's see how this is shaping up. Pretty good. Of course, you know, we got a little filling to do here on the corner where the roof skin was put on. We got to add our studs and all that, but overall, I like what I see. Also, sometimes modifying the trim is necessary. Like these trims has this rough edge. You might want to grind that down. This car is supposed to be a repeat of my black car too, so everything's got to be pretty spick and span. So right now what you've got a good gap down through here that's not dragging. Once this molding is clipped on, it's not going to be touching the body. In the past, some of my cars, I've done a little bit too good of a job on getting the moldings a little too close here. So you want a gap right here. Preferably about where it'll sit about like that. And I believe we got what we need on this side. All right, so we got the car and the EPX primer. Still got a few areas of, we're gonna have to do some more body work, but I just wanted to go and get the car in primer. Got that looking good. Got all the little small stuff primed. You want to go ahead and get all that covered so it don't rust. And we got here, of course, this, you know, a little different than the other side. Very well may do a little more work in there at a later time once I get studs in and can pop a piece of chrome on and actually see kind of what we're looking at. So just make sure on those areas there you have a smooth transition. You don't want a sharp edge here. It's pretty smooth, so we're looking good there. This car, I looked at it kind of when it was wet with the epoxy. It's definitely a ripple there, but it's definitely a decently straight car. It's way straighter than my SS that I started with, so getting this car straight shouldn't be a huge deal, but it is going to be black, so it's got to be extra precautions. It's got to be taken and that type of thing. So anyway, that's where we're at this point. All right, picking right back up where we left off. We got the car and primer. I think we talked about that in the last clip. Kind of tired. I've been out here having a block party all day, but basically 5.5 hours a day, and I've been working on these fenders. And that's the time it takes. Wiped that whole fender, blocked it down with 80. This here's ready to roll. Still got a little work to do at the bottom and on top here, not much on that one. This one here, blocked that with 80 here just a minute ago, and then discovered that was never skim coated back when I had the car. So just to be safe, I went ahead and skim coated the trouble areas, usually where you'll see any issues. I'll probably end up having to skim coat these quarter panels a second time. I'm probably going to put this car in 2K, the 5310 Tamco. As good as that stuff builds, some of the smaller, less shallow imperfections should sand out. I'll block everything down with 220 wet, and of course look at it, and because I think I've discussed this in other videos, but it bears repeating. When you're blocking, you can put as much guide coat as you want. You can sand it out. The guide coat will go away. Even with these true blocks, you'll be using those. The guide coat goes away. You think you're good. You get down with the panel with water on it or pre-paint cleaner on it. You look down the side and there's a ripple, because it'll be a real broad ripple, and the block will actually go down into the stuff, into the primer, and cut and keep cutting into a ripple. So you got to be real mindful. That's not as important on a car. It's going to be a lighter color, because but on a car like this, it's going to be black. It's very important. Same thing with these doors. They were all blocked down one time and primed. I re-primed them, but it's a good chance they're going to could need some more work. So we'll talk about that when the time comes. But otherwise, that's where we're at right now. All right, so we're progressing right along. These quarter panels, back when I had this car, was never skim coated. I ran a block over it, and I didn't like what I saw, so I just skim coated both sides. And it should get these things straight. Show you what I ran into on this fender. It's all sanded out, blocked, wiped, the whole thing. Felt a few trouble areas here, took care of those. Monte car, any old car that's got a flat area on the fender, you need to pay close attention to, because just about every one of them are factory, have waves. And then when you have them blasted, a lot of times, it kind of magnifies that a little bit. So you'll end up having to skim coat the top, block that. That fender here, same scenario. I done skim coated this, got that looking better, and then this still felt wavy, and it had actually sanded out on the guide coat. So that's what I talk about. It'll burn you, so be mindful of that. So I'll put more. May actually have to go back and wipe that a third time. But anyway, it's coming. It's going to be interesting to see what the doors look like. I remember doing more body work on these doors, so I want to say that because they had issues already, they're probably closer. Now, this is back before the true blocks and these fancy blocks, so might have something that the DuraBlock didn't get that this will. So keep that in mind also. But don't put too much stock in these blocks. If you can't halfway block a car with a DuraBlock, you're not going to be able to block a car with this. You'll actually screw it up worse with this, because there is no forgivability here. So keep that in mind as we progress right along. All right, got this quarter block all blocked out here, and you can see, where the metal is showing and where all the low spots. And I mean, those are, significant low spots we're talking about. And I mean, a good thick 2K primer may fill most of those in, but it's not going to fill in these extreme low spots. So I just think you're better off to skim coat a panel. And under no circumstance do I use anything like slick sand or polyester or any of that junk. Not throwing off on it in in an all-out show car situation, but that stuff is just so thick. A someone that really knows what they're talking about told me that that's more or less for show car stuff. You can't go down the road, kind of like crazy close door gaps. It looks great, but it's not practical. You got to balance practicality and functionality. And when you're building a car that's going to be driven and going down the highway, it's going to hit potholes and dips and over rough railroad tracks and stuff. And I'm sure the roads in some areas are worse than here. It's just not practical. I mean, you know, you got a close, tight gap somewhere. It looks pretty, and you hit one dip, the whole car flexes, and it's going to chip the paint. So remember, functionality over practicality. It's got to be practical, and it's got to be functional. I think I said that wrong. It's got to be practical to look good, but it's got to be functional also, and that's what you got to remember when you're doing this. You can have a bodywork as straight as you want. You can spend as much time as you want, but again, you need to use materials that's not gonna, you know, be susceptible to body flex and that type of thing. The Tamco 5310, any 2K primer, 5310 does not shrink, so it's like a polyester in that regard, but it's still a 2K, so it's flexible and good for a driver. What a lot of the guys from True Blocks use, where I bought my blocks, they use a lot of polyester, but they build a lot of high-end show cars. Again, it's kind of whatever you're doing here. There's two different types of show quality work. There's local car show quality work, and there's SEMA, ISCA, Super Chevy Gold class type show cars, and that's the type of stuff that I'm not doing. So, you know, the bodywork and paint will hang right there, but the underneath, undercarriage, that type of stuff's just not where I'm at on that. So, anyway, just a little food for thought. Kind of the way I do things, I throw that in there, and just kind of, you know, these Monte Carlos have trouble areas in all the curves, so just remember that. All right, so we got primer sprayed, and you might be wondering why this thing looks like a cow. Well, I had a little mishap with my spray can, my rattle can that I use for guide coat. It wouldn't spray, so I shoved this thing down in it, and I must have punctured something, and it just started going haywire. So I just ran around the car like a crazy person, spraying and just getting this, so I didn't waste it. Just pretty much got guide coat on everything I needed to get it on. Not really even, it ain't real pretty, but it's on there. So this is the Tamco 5310. I put 2 coats on the roof. I put 3 coats on everything that had a lot of body work that was done, doors, fenders, quarter panels. Got 3 good heavy coats. So now we're going to be blocking this stuff, and get those quarters done. And I'd like to be able to hang these doors and fenders back on the car to sand. That way I can look down the side of the car and kind of make sure we're looking good, because I've blocked these doors out before and they look all right laying flat. Then you get them on this car and it's like, might have something. So anyway, it's just some food for thought. But it was a good rainy day today, so kept the dust down and kept the mist down. I run this stuff on real low pressure. I had very little fumes here in the air, so that's always good. All right, we'll continue. So we got our first look at the block sanding here. Already got a little spot there I made a mark of. Looks real good down the top of the fender. And pretty straight looking. I hit this with 220. So the plan is to fix any imperfections and then recoat and then sand with 320. But we got a little bit of discrepancy in the back part of the fender that I'm going to work on, but not too bad.